All right. Good evening, folks. Welcome to Friday night fun night. Running a little late, technical difficulties and audio issues, and I still think I'm probably going to have some audio issues over here again, but we'll see. Facebook, I'll apologize if there's audio issues out there, but we'll deal with that as they occur. But I'm here. Are you here? Not only that, I really not sure what I'm going to talk about tonight, but off the top of my head, I'm thinking rights. Because fundamentally and principally, we have to know what our rights are, right? If you don't know what your rights are, you ain't got them. And it's not doing its thing again. I can't see comments. What the heck is going on? Okay, so here we go again. I'll have to remember to mute so I can see the comments. Let's see, over here. Okay, here it is. Okay, it's muted right now. Aha. There we go. Now I can see comments. Ah. Good evening, all. All right. Ah, I don't think it's hacked. It just probably got some stupid update. It's Windows 10 for you. So all right. Yep. Yep. And it's weird. Sometimes the audio works and sometimes it doesn't. OBS didn't want to pick up the audio. I don't know. What is that? Unnumbered, right? Yeah, exactly. Our rights are unnumbered. You know, uh, the Bible says, I don't know, as Jesus talks about that my people shall perish for lack of knowledge, and that's precisely what's going on. And obviously, when we go to the rules for radicals, written by Saul Alinsky, one of the eight strategic takedown of a nation essentially is to take over the education. So how many people are aware that you haven't been taught what your rights are, how our form of government was created, why it was created the way it was created, that who has all the power? Thank you. Little gray, showing the gray there. You know, it's my mission statement here when I started all this is, what is your rights? Where do they come from? And how to effectively defend them. That's my basic, you know, motto, mission statement, is to teach the people what their rights are. Where do they actually come from? You know, we have many different types of rights. And we'll go to Beauvair's Law Dictionary. I know I'm saying it wrong, but that's how I pronounced it for a long time. Beauvais, Beauvais Law Dictionary. Is it going to let me? Come here. All right, let's see. Law dictionaries. There we go. Now, there's different categories of rights. Now, that the thing is like the going thing out there right now is, oh no, no rights are absolute. None of the rights in the Bill of Rights is absolute. Is that so? Because in my research and studies and readings, well, we have absolute rights. And I've talked about this before is, you know, those unalienable rights are our property, an aggregate of guaranteed rights. So if rights are our property, isn't that why they call it a trespass? Oh, I'm a rebel. Citizen is somebody who unjustly and unlawfully takes up arms against the constituted authorities of the nation to deprive them of the supreme power. No, I guess I'm not a rebel. But what happens when the public servants are the ones that are usurping their powers? A lot of times it seems to be twisted only one way. Oh, you can't take arms up against us because we wouldn't do anything unlawful. We wouldn't do anything unconstitutional. Right. What was the Revolutionary War about again? Boy, rights are down there quite a ways. Maybe I should have went to. Come on. Lots of RE. Come on. For those super speed readers, did you read all that? Hey, what's a republic? A commonwealth, that form of government in which the administration of affairs is open to all citizens. In another sense, it signifies the state, independently of its form of government. That's that state of being. In this sense, it is used by Ben Jonson, those that by their deeds make it known, whose dignity they do sustain, and life, state, glory, and all they gain, count the republics not their own. Politic, nation, state. Republican government. Government of the Republican form of government of the people. It is usually put in opposition to a monarchical or aristocratic government. Fourth section, the fourth article of the Constitution directs that the United States shall guarantee to every state in the Union a republican form of government. We are not a democracy. What's that out there again, Mark? Confederate Republic. All throughout the Federalists' papers, and Mark seems to know those off the top of his head. Nine's one of them. Talks about being a Confederate Republic. Come on, ease. Jeez. All right. So here we go. There it is. 6, 9, 43, and 45 of the Federalists. Thank you, Mark. That's right. It is not a democracy. So this word is used in various senses. Sometimes it signifies a law, as when we say that natural right requires us to keep our promises, or that it commands restitution, or that it forbids murder. Uh-oh. In our language, it is seldom used in this sense. Seldom. Well, maybe we need to bring it back. Maybe we need to use it a lot more, that rights are actually the law that is common to all, the common law. So when we talk about like the people's rights, our rights is the common law. I mean, Volume 16, Constitutional Law, Section 100, specifically says that bills of rights and those merely declaratory of the common law. So how do we not know that our rights are the common law, that they're actually the law? I mean, isn't in the Declaration of Independence that governments are to secure these rights? Governments are instituted to, among men receiving their just powers under the consent of the governed. So we cannot deny that there are certain basic fundamental rights that, as Hale versus Hinkle says, long antecedent to the formation of government. So that means they're around for a lot longer, long time ago, before we even created government. At least that's what I get out of that. Number 2, it sometimes means that quality in our actions by which they are denominated just ones. Just. Justice. Just. This is usually denominated rectitude. Number 3, it is that quality in a person by which he can do certain actions or possess certain things which belong to him by virtue of some title. In this sense, we use it when we say that a man has a right to his estate or a right to defend himself. It's a right, a fundamental right, common law right, because it comes from the law of nature. Fundamentally and principally, we have the right to shun what may hurt us. And we have the right to defend our life, our liberty, our pursuit of happiness, our personal property, our real estate. That's a right retained by the people. We did not give subject matter jurisdiction of our rights to government. Where does it say that? Where did we do that? No, we didn't, because even in American jurisprudence, volume 15, civil rights, section 2, specifically states that, natural rights appertain to those, and civil rights have absolutely nothing to do with the establishment, support, or management of government. We did not give government subject matter jurisdiction over our rights. Period. And I challenge any man out there to show me where it says that we did, because I can most definitely show you where it says we didn't. In this latter sense alone, this word be here considered. Right is correlative of duty. For wherever one has a right due to him, some other must owe him a duty. Now let me break that down into a little bit more layman's terms here. So rights impose duties, like the right to due process of law. It imposes a duty upon us to follow the process that is due to our fellow man, or we violate that right ourselves. So wherever one has a right due to him, some other must owe him a duty. Now let's flip it around. As a public servant, knowing that these are the rights as the fundamental law, the common law, the law that is common to all, and that there are certain bills of rights out there that are just merely declaratory of the common law, which would be the first 8 articles of the Bill of Rights, are just merely declaratory of the common law, because every single last one of those rights, 1 through 8, I can show you from history where they already pre-existed. Again, they are long and descendant to the formation of government. Been around for quite some time. Bunch of hogwash to say that the Bill of Rights does not apply to the states when there are rights. And the fact is that didn't delegates from the states assemble in Congress in a constitutional convention, all vote to pass those, and then was submitted to the states, to the people, to be ratified? Yeah, that's how that happened. So how is any man of sound mind going to say that, well, the first 8 amendments, first 8 articles of the Bill of Rights doesn't apply to the states except for by and through the 14th Amendment? I don't think so. You're insane. Those rights belong to us. It's a Bill of Rights. So, and because we all have those same exact rights, all public servants have a duty to ensure that none of those rights are being infringed on, trampled on, trespassed upon, period. So now let's get into the different types of rights here. Rights are perfect and imperfect. When the things which we have a right to possess, or the actions which we have a right to do, are or may be fixed and determinate. The right is a perfect one, like the right to life, the right to liberty. Those are very fixed and determinate, and they are perfect rights. But when the thing or the actions are vague and indeterminate, the right is an imperfect one. If a man demand his property, which is withheld from him, the right that supports his demand is a perfect one, because the thing demanded is or may be fixed and determinate. Now, here's the other thing. But if a poor man ask relief from those from whom he has reason to expect it, the right which supports his petition is an imperfect one, because the relief which he expects is a vague, indeterminate thing. Now, here's where we're going to get real good here. Rights are also absolute. A man has an absolute right to recover property which belongs to him. An agent has a qualified right to recover such property when it had been entrusted to his care and which has been unlawfully taken out of his possession. Think about that. An agent. Now, I'm going to bring up the maxim of law here. What I cannot do in my person, I cannot do through the agency of another. So, if I can't do it, I can't hire or task somebody else to do it for me. Does that make sense? I mean, that should be fundamental, should be self-evident, that if I can't do it, I can't get somebody else to do it for me. That would be, just mind-boggling to think that, well, you can't do that, but me clothed with this disguise, clothed with authority, I can do that. No. Doesn't make any sense to me. So let's talk about this again. Rights are absolute, and rights are also absolute and qualified. A man has an absolute right to recover property. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is among those unalienable rights that are our property. Okay? This what I'm trying to lay down here is the fact that our that's why it's unalienable, because it is our property and you can't place a lien upon our property. And they do call it a common law trespass. It's a trespass on our property. And those unalienable rights do, in fact, belong to us. At least here in America, we recognize that. We laid that down way back. Okay? And this is where we would get into a durable power of attorney. In fact, that makes you the attorney, an agent acting on behalf of the principal. And with that contract, it's a private contract. And there shall be no law. I don't care what color of law it is. There shall be none impairing the obligation of that contract. And acting as agent on behalf of the principal, we have the qualified right to recover that property, an aggregate of guaranteed rights, or personal property, like an automobile that's been unlawfully towed, seized, stolen, theft. Which has been unlawfully taken out of his possession. Do I have a course to learn all this? Well, I have 8 episodes in the educational series, both on Facebook and YouTube, as well as over on Patreon, a link to that. So, yeah, there's 16 hours of education there. Plus, I'm usually here at least 2 nights a week, and through Patreon, 3 nights a week. Wednesday night workshop. So, yes, to answer your question, yep, sure do. Whether it's a the educational series is in a playlist. So if you go to Kirk's Law Corner, both on YouTube or Facebook, go to the videos tab and you'll see a thing that it says playlists. Click on playlist and there's 8 episodes in a playlist. Okay. All right. So now we're going to get into some of these other descriptions of rights. You're welcome, Scott. Rights might, with propriety, be also divided into natural and civil rights. Now, this is where it's a lie. But as all the rights which man has received from nature have been modified and acquired anew from the civil law, it is more proper, when considering their object, to divide them into political and civil rights. I rebuke that, because natural rights come from God, the sovereign. As it says in the Declaration of Independence, we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Naturally, fundamentally, and principally. This is the Roman civil law, where you don't have natural rights, and that certain civil rights are just, well, not absolute, but they are, because they're unalienable and they're from our Creator. So therefore, they're not even ours. We're endowed by our Creator with those rights. But you have to know them. You have to know that particular fact of law in America, that we are endowed by our Creator, the sovereign, which that means we have sovereignty. God is the sovereign. We can't be sovereign in a sense without God. We have sovereignty, but there's only one sovereign. As the maxim of law. The law speaks to all with one mouth. Whose mouth would that be? That would be God's mouth, because God is the one that spoke everything into being. He created all things, everything. No, your child is not your property, but the right is. The right is your property. Okay. So let's look at political rights. They consist in the power to participate directly or indirectly in the establishment or management of government. These political rights are fixed by the Constitution. Every citizen has the right of voting for public officers and of being elected. These are political rights which the humblest citizen possesses. Now, this one lays it out quite a bit better. Civil rights are those which have no relation to the establishment, support, or management of the government. Okay? Right there. So if civil rights have nothing to do with the establishment, legislature, support, executive, or management, judicial, of the government, then clearly natural rights are clearly off limits. But see, as it said before, that it's, politically correct that they've been all acquired anew from the civil law. No, thank you. I'll keep my natural rights and my civil rights separate. Now, these consist in the power of acquiring and enjoying property. Now, pay attention over there on Facebook asking about it, whether your child's your property, right here, of exercising the paternal and marital powers and the like. This is our rights that are our property. It will be observed that everyone, unless deprived of them by a sentence of civil death, is in the enjoyment of his civil rights, which is not the case with political rights. For an alien, for example, has no political, although in the full enjoyment of his civil rights. Because you have to be a member of the body politic to have political rights. So, and what does it mean by unless deprived of them by a sentence of civil death? That has to be done through a trial by jury. There is no other way to deprive these rights without the consent of a jury. Period. Now, these latter rights are divided into absolute and relative. The absolute rights of mankind may be reduced to three principal or primary articles. The right of personal security, which consists in a person's legal and uninterrupted enjoyment of his life, his limbs, his body, his health, and his reputation. Oh, crap, that's an absolute right. So that means no vaccines forced, no masks being forced, because this is an absolute right. That's personal security. The right of personal security. Uninterrupted enjoyment of his life, his limbs, his body, his health, and his reputation. Now, here's your right to travel, but it's not called the right to travel. It's called the right of personal liberty, which consists in the power of locomotion, of changing situation or removing one's person to whatsoever place one's inclination may direct, without any restraint, unless by due course of law, due process of law, which requires a consent of a jury. Now, the right of property, which consists in the free use, enjoyment, and disposal of all his acquisitions without any control or diminution, save only by the laws of the land. Imagine that. So, when I talk about the right of personal liberty and the right of property, in this sense here, free use and enjoyment as well as all of his acquisitions, that's personal property. So I basically articulate that, one, I'm exercising my right of personal liberty. And under what lawful authority do you have to deprive me of my liberty here? Number two, I'm exercising the right of acquiring, possessing, and utilizing my personal property, whether we call that my automobile or my car, carriage, horse-drawn carriage, as it is rated in horsepower and pound-feet of torque. How many feet are pounding the ground? How many horses do I have under the hood pounding the ground? It's amazing how that all works out, that's how we do that. We rate internal combustion engines in their output in horsepower and pound-feet of torque. Not foot-pounds, pound-feet of torque. So, the claim and exercise of a right cannot be converted into a crime, right? Miller versus U.S. The right can't be converted into a privilege, licensed and attached a fee to it. Murdoch versus Pennsylvania. And if they do, Shuttlesworth versus Birmingham says you can engage in the activity with impunity. And any man who deprives you of your liberties, it will be at their own peril. But you have to know how to effectively defend yourself, which means that isn't how cars work. You're really going to talk to me about how cars work? Let me put it this way. I've been around cars since I was 4 years old. Working on race cars, 68, 69 GTO that my mom and dad raced. I ran my own shop for 6 years. I've worked in many different shops, built race cars. I'm pretty sure I know about cars. Yes, they do work on horsepower. It's all rated in horsepower and pound-feet of torque. Plain and simple. All right, so now that we comprehend personal liberty and that these latter rights are divided into absolute and relative, the relative are the next one. So again, personal liberty, personal security. So see, you have to know the proper diction, the proper words to use. jurisdiction. What body of law are we talking about here? We're talking about rights as the law. And these are absolute rights. Personal security, personal liberty, and the right of property. Horsepower isn't a thing anymore. Oh, please, give me a break. So, the relative rights are public or private? Oh, really? So we have public rights and we have private rights? Huh. The first are those which subsist between the people and the government. So those are public rights. As the right of protection on the part of the people, which goes right back to Hale versus Henkel. And the right of allegiance, which is due by the people to the government, as in defending it. That's basic allegiance as an American, to defend our form of government. All right. So the second are reciprocal rights of husband and wife, parent and child, guardian and ward, and master and servant. Uh-oh. Huh. So if we have public servants, doesn't that make us the masters? It sure does. So pay attention to what it's saying there again. The relative rights are public or private. First are those which subsist between the people and the government, as the right of protection on the part of the people, and the right of allegiance, which is due by the people to the government. Now, the second, we're talking about private. The second are the reciprocal rights of husband and wife. Those are private rights. Huh. How about parent and child? That's a private right. Guardian and ward. Now, this is a confusing one, but see, notice that it's private. But that would be what? Guardian and ward. Well, sometimes children have guardians. So we have to know that these are private rights. They're off limits. Don't touch me there. You're touching me in a private area, a private part. And I don't consent to that. And there's no lawful authority delegated for you to touch me there, which means that's an usurpation of power. That's a crime. That's an arrestable offense to touch me there. I also have the right to defend that property because this is an aggregate of guaranteed rights. This is a guaranteed right. Try going out in the woods sometimes and go mess with mama bear cubs. Huh. You think mama bear is going to be okay with that? I don't think mama bear reacts so well, too kindly, to messing with her baby cubs. That's pure animal instinct. Should be natural. So now we get into a little more confusing. Rights are also divided into legal and equitable. This really is about contracts. The former are those where the party has the legal title to a thing, and in that case, his remedy for infringement of it is by an action in a court of law. Although the person holding the legal title may have no actual interest, but hold only as trustee. Huh. The suit must be in his name and not in general, like, oh, well, the state of Idaho versus. Got to have the real party of interest here. In that of the Sestake Trust. Whoops. Look at that right there, folks. They're referring to the Sestake Trust. The Sestake Trust Act of 1666. The latter, or equitable rights, are those which may be enforced in a court of equity by the Sestake Trust. Really? Huh. It's quite fascinating to see this right here, that it exposes itself for the fraud that it is right there. Because given what we just read above, what the hell would be a legal and equitable right? A title to a thing, like the title to your truck. Let's say there's a lien placed on it because you're buying it from somebody and you haven't paid it off yet. But how would that be under the Sestake Trust? You see, trusts are under ecclesiastical law, under the law of the air. So now we have a little bit better idea of some fundamental principles of rights and some very basic ones. And now you know the proper diction, the proper words to use. What body of law? What's the words of that law? Okay. Well, these are the words you need to learn. If you want to effectively claim, exercise, and defend your rights, you're going to have to know these basic fundamental principles right here. And the proper words to use. But see, I mean, this one right here knocks clear out of the park, right? Because it has absolutely nothing to do with the establishment, support, or management of the government. So Actually, somebody had made a comment over here on YouTube a few days ago about how they use this verbiage that I've said about natural rights have nothing to do with government. None of your business. And apparently the court kind of crapped its pants. Well, the code says, well, the code says, well, the code's not law, and anything that comes in conflict with this is void for any effect. Imagine that. How to shut that down when you can speak the law. This is the key, folks. You have to be able to speak it. I know what my rights are. Oh, yeah? Can you talk to me about it? Well, that's not fair. Really? Well, how are you going to effectively defend yourself when you actually don't know what your rights are? But yet you're standing here in front of me claiming that you do know what your rights are. But when I ask you to articulate them, you can't even articulate them. You know how stupid you frickin' sound? You're insane. Come up to me and tell me you know all about your rights, you know what your rights are, and then I ask you to articulate them and you can't. That means you really don't know what your rights are. Because if you can't spit it out, now remember, our tongue is sharper than a double-edged sword. So imagine having this knowledge where you're able to just spit this stuff out on the spot. You don't have to pick up a book. You don't have to look at your notes. This is how you defeat the evil spiritually right in front of you. And I have personally experienced this because I do know what my rights are. I do know quite a bit about the law. I'm not going to claim to know it all. Okay. Openly admitted that for years. That'll never change. Till the day I die, I probably will never know all of the law. I will never know it all. And I have no problem admitting that and saying that at any time, anywhere, any place. So, but I tell you what I do know, I know it quite well. And I know it well enough to articulate on the spot and to speak it, no matter where I'm at. In court, out on the streets, down at the Capitol, standing toe to toe with Idaho State Police, in the sheriff's office, Walmart parking lot with Boise City Police. Okay. So I'm going to take you up to L. What's at L? How about liberty? We better come up here. I guess I went a little too far, but while we're right here, close, I want to toss this one. Every time I come by here, I'll always play this one. Esquire, a title applied by courtesy to officers of almost every description to members of the bar and others. No one is entitled to it by law, and therefore it confers no distinction in law. Get out of my republic, bar. I cannot believe I've had this conversation with several different members of the bar. Oh, no, it's Esquire's not a title. Where does it say that? Right here. That's where it says it, right here. In England, it is a title next above that of a gentleman and below a knight. Where? In England. We're not in England. We're in America. And in America, no one is entitled to it by law, and therefore it confers no distinction in law. Huh, imagine that. In the body politic, which means no man or set of men are entitled to separate emoluments or privileges from the community. Because that would be an odious claim. I said a bad word? Shift into first gear. It happens. I went a little too far there. What is that? All right. Let me guess, there's going to be a lot of LEs. Libel has been defined as the plaintiff's petition or allegation made exhibited in a judicial process with some solemnity of law. It is also said to be a short and well-ordered writing, setting forth in a clear manner as well to judge as the defendant, the plaintiff's or accuser's intention and judgment. It is a written statement by a plaintiff of his cause of action and of the relief they seek to obtain in a suit under ecclesiastical law. Kind of a weird one, huh? Let's get down here to, there's libel. That's criminal law. What? I thought libel wasn't criminal. A malicious defamation expressed either in printing or writing or by signs or pictures tend to blacken the memory of one who is dead with intent to provoke the living. So those of you out there committing the crime of libel against Chris, and of course those that have been doing it against Chris and myself for quite some time, and many other people, you know who I'm talking about. Or the reputation of one who is alive, and to expose him to public hatred, contempt, or ridicule. Has been defined perhaps with more precision to be a censorious or ridiculous writing, picture, or sign made with a malicious or mischievous intent towards government magistrates or individuals. Well, why would that have anything to do with it? How about towards just a man? In briefly considering this offense, we will inquire first, by what mode of expression is libel may be conveyed, of what kind of defamation it must consist, how plainly it must be expressed, and fourth, what mode of publication is essential. Well, in today's timing, lots of things are published on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and all those other social media, TikTok, whatever. Oh man, there's so much crap out there these days. So the reduction of the slanderous matter to writing or printing is the most usual mode of conveying it. The exhibition of a picture intimidating that which in print would be libelous is equally criminal. Fixing a gallows at a man's door, burning him in effigy, or exhibiting him in any ignoramus manner is libel. Oh, ignominious manner? Okay, I thought it said ignoramus. But there's perhaps no branch of the law which is so difficult to reduce to exact principles or to compress within a small compass as the requisites of libel. All publications denying the Christian religion to be true. Huh? Weird. All writings subservious of morality or tending to inflame the passions by indecent language are indictable at common law. Ooh. In order to constitute a libel, it is not necessary that anything criminal should be imputed to the party injured. It is enough if the writer has exhibited him in a ludicrous point of view, has pointed him out as an object of ridicule or disgust, has, in short, done that which has a natural tendency to excite him to revenge. Above cited was grounded upon the following verses, which were held to be libelous, namely, Old Villers, so strong a brimstone you smell, as if not long since you had got out of hell. But the damnable smell I no longer can bear. Therefore I desire you would come no more here. You old stinking, old nasty, old itchy, old toad. If you come any more, you shall pay for your board. You'll therefore take this as a warning from me and never enter the doors while they belong to JP. Will not December 4th, 1767. Huh. That's libel. Libels against the memory of the dead, which have a tendency to create a breach of the peace by the inciting the friends and relatives of the deceased to avenge the insult of the I bet that's supposed to be family, but finality, render their authors liable to legal animadversion. Okay. If the matter be understood as scandalous and is calculated to excite ridicule or abhorrence against the party intended, it is libelous, however it may be expressed. Oh. The malicious reading of a libel to one or more persons, it being on the shelves in a bookstore as other books for sale, and where the defendant directed the libel to be printed, took away some and left others, these several acts have been held to be publications. The sale of each copy, where several copies have been sold, is a distinct publication and a fresh offense. The publication must be malicious. Evidence of the malice may be either express or implied. Express proof is not necessary. For where a man publishes a writing, which on the face of it is libelous, the law presumes he does so from that malicious intention, which constitutes the offense, and it is unnecessary, on the part of the prosecution, to prove any circumstance from which malice may be inferred. But no allegation, however false and malicious, contained in answers or interrogatories, in affidavits duly made, or any other proceedings in courts of justice or petitions to the legislature, are indictable. Okay. Where I was going was liberty. What? Liberty should be a big one. There we go. Now here's one of those rights that is a rather large right. It encompasses many different liberties, like personal liberty, liberty of conscience, the right to think for ourselves. So, first and foremost, liberty is freedom from restraint. So, this is why any man who deprives another man of his liberty, it will be at their own peril. And reading on the treatise on arrest and false imprisonment, that's what's in there. Even just the mere, hey, you, stop. That is a deprivation of the right of liberty. You are restraining that man from exercising his liberty. And you better have lawful authority to do that. Because the power of acting as one thinks fit without any restraint or control except from the laws of nature, not the code. Now look, liberty is divided into civil, natural, personal, and political. Huh. I think we just covered some of that, didn't we? Civil liberty is the power to do whatever is permitted by the Constitution of the state and the laws of the land. It is no other than natural liberty, so far restrained by human laws and no further, operating equally upon all the citizens as is necessary and expedient for the general advantage of the public. See how they try to tie natural into civil, but then, wait a minute, freedom from restraint, the power of acting as one thinks fit without any restraint or control except from the laws of nature. Then you come down here to number 3 and say, oh, well, whatever's permitted by the Constitution of the state and the laws of the land. Whoops. Okay, civil. Where's natural? But then you try to say that civil liberty is no other than natural liberty. See, this is why I like to keep natural rights and civil rights separated, because where they come from. Because see, here it's talking about civil rights so far restrained by human laws, not the laws of nature and nature's God, and endowed by our Creator with these unalienable rights. Whoa. Okay. So now we're going to go here. Number 4. That system of laws is alone calculated to maintain civil liberty, which leaves the citizen entirely master of his own conduct, except in those points in which the public good requires some direction and restraint. When a man is restrained in his natural liberty by no municipal laws, but those which are requisite to prevent his violating the natural law and to promote the greatest moral and physical welfare of the community, he is legally possessed of the fullest enjoyment of his civil rights of individual liberty. But it must not be inferred that the individuals are to judge for themselves how far the law may justifiably restrict their individual liberty. For it is necessary to the welfare of the commonwealth that the law should be obeyed, and thence is derived the legal maxim that no man may be wiser than the law. Now, here's natural liberty. Natural liberty is the right which nature gives to all mankind, of disposing of their persons and property after the manner they judge most consonant to their happiness, on condition of their acting within the limits of the law of nature, and that they do not in any way abuse it to the prejudice of other men. So basically, right there, just don't cause any injury, loss, or harm to your fellow man. And you're free to exercise your liberties however you see fit. Okay. Now, personal liberty is the independence of our actions of all other will than our own. It consists in the power of locomotion, of changing situation, and removing one's person to whatever place one's inclination may direct, without imprisonment or restraint, unless by due course of law. It's a reiteration of what it was back down there in rights. Didn't change, did it? But it is the independence of our actions of all other will than our own. Like a mask. No. Pursuant to the laws of nature, I think I have that right to think for myself. And under personal liberty, natural liberty, yeah, you're screwed. You don't have any lawful authority. You have no standing. You have no standing in law to talk about Jack, about anything about me wearing a mask. Not within your scope and authority ever. Right here. Says so. Is the independence of our actions of all other will than our own. Our own will. So remember, breaches of the peace is really assault and battery. So verbal assault, physical battery. Okay. That's what a breach of the peace is. Yelling obscenities, threats of violence, or acts of violence. Okay, threats of violence, threat, speaking it, that's an assault. That's a breach of the peace. Then you have the battery, actual acts of violence, touching you there in the private area, private rights. That is battery. Some may say, oh, no. Yeah, it is. You're trespassing on my property. That's battery. But I'm not touching you. Yeah, well, you trespassed. I have the right to defend that. It's a breach of the peace. You're trespassing on my property. Get off. Okay. So political liberty may be defined to be the security by which the Constitution, form and nature of the established government, the citizens enjoy civil liberty. No ideas or definitions are more distinguishable than those of civil and political liberty, yet they are generally confounded. See, this is why I want to keep natural rights separate from civil. You see how they're trying to blur the lines here? Okay. So the political liberty of a state is based upon those fundamental laws which establish the distribution of legislative and executive powers. The political liberty of a citizen is that tranquility of mind, which is the effect of an opinion that he is in perfect security. And to ensure this security, the government must be such that one citizen shall not fear another. There you have it. In the English law, by liberty is meant a privilege held by grant or prescription, by which some men enjoy greater benefits than ordinary subjects. I think that's supposed to be ordinary. A liberty is also a territory with some extraordinary privilege. Now remember, this is in the English law, the way they think. That's why they call them their subjects. This is precisely what the Magna Carta was about. Is the monarchy, the Roman Catholic Church, the Crown Temple, the Roman Catholic Church, right? Crown Temple bar, barristers, them titles of nobility holding esquires. Oh, well, liberty is a privilege, and you have to be granted that or prescribed it. As long as there's no threats of violence. See, there again, rights impose a duty. While you have a right to freedom of speech, you cannot threaten violence against your fellow man. There's a duty there in exercising that right, not to be a breach of the peace. By liberty or liberties, it is understood a part of a town or city, and the northern liberties of the city of Philadelphia, the same as Faubourg, Faubourg. Okay. Oh, here you go. Here's that liberty of press. The right to print and publish the truth from good motives and for justifiable ends. See, the right to freedom of speech and the right of press, they have to be exercised, and we have to be responsible for the exercise of those rights. Now, what does it say? This right is secured by the Constitution of the United States. Amendments, Article 1. Why does that say Article 1? Because it's articles in addition to. The abuse of the right is punished criminally by indictment, civilly by action. See Judge Cooper's treatise on the law of libel and the liberty of the press. Blah, blah, blah. Liberty of speech. The right given by here again, the right given by the Constitution and the laws to public support in speaking facts or opinions. No, none of these rights come from the Constitution. These rights, right? Freedom of speech. I think God gave us a voice for a reason to speak. Okay? In a Republican government like ours, liberty of speech cannot be extended too far when its object is the public good. It is therefore wisely provided by the Constitution of the United States that members of Congress shall not be called to account for anything said in debate. And similar provisions are contained in the Constitution of several states in relation to the members of their respective legislatures. So what this is saying really is that they can say whatever the heck they want in the legislature, and they can't be held account. This right, however, does not extend beyond the mere speaking. For if a member of Congress were to reduce his speech to writing and cause it to be printed, it would no longer bear a privileged character, and he might be held responsible for a libel as any other individual. The greatest latitude is allowed by the common law to counsel. In the discharge of his professional duty, he may use strong epithets, however derogatory to other persons they may be, if pertinent to the cause and stand in his instructions, whether the thing were true or false. But if he were maliciously to travel out of his case for the purpose of slandering another, he would be liable to an action and amenable to a just and often more efficacious punishment inflicted by public opinion. No respectable counsel will indulge himself with unjust severity, and it is doubtless the duty of the court to prevent any such abuse. All right. So on that note, that's kind of where I'm going to end it for Friday night fun night. Okay. Now, truly appreciate everybody being here and the love, the kindness, the prayers and all that good stuff. That thing over there, and yeah, that's right. Thank you everybody for the likes, the follows, the shares, the thumbs up over here on YouTuber, and subscriptions. Subscribe. Make sure you're subscribed over there. If you're even if you're over here on Facebook and you're not on YouTube, get subscribed over here to Kirk's Law Corner on YouTube too. Good Lord. You do realize that Bovair's 1856 edition is not law, right? Legal dictionaries and encyclopedias are not law. Duh. It's a dictionary. It has the definitions of words so that we can comprehend the words that we use and what they mean. And being that it is published, we can, under judicial notice, cite them and quote them. But hey, I guess not everybody might not know that. So for those of you that have helped support before through digitally, if you could help go through the postal service now, snail mail, send that over to the office. I haven't figured out anything yet digital wise. I actually missed somebody was supposed to talk to me about that in Wednesday night workshop. We must have skipped over that. But anyways, any other options out there to do digital donations be great. Being PayPal and Cash App was unjustly taken away from me because I was talking about the thing, the stuff that's going on right now. I guess you're not allowed to talk about that on YouTube. So I don't know. I kind of even touched on it tonight. So who knows? But clearly we're not allowed to discuss that. No free speech. No right of the press. The truth. Not allowed to speak the truth. But yeah, at the office over there, 6477 West Fairview Avenue. Suite C, Boise, Idaho, 83704. And I may in due time. Although I am aware that Facebook was being sued, and now the court ordered that Twitter be enjoined as a defendant. Oh, give me a break. See, the ignorance of people. Oh, quote Beauvair's 1856, and the judge will laugh at you. One learns this the first month of law school. Well, how about, did they teach you that we don't have titles of nobility in our form of government? That Esquire is a title of nobility? That would be foreign to our form of government and repugnant to our law? That the creation of the bar is unlawful because no man or set of men are entitled to separate emoluments? Give me a break, dude. It's about what we think, right? And it is. It sure is. But I also know that all your de facto kangaroo courts are all ran by the bar. Yeah, you might want to start resigning. There are already people out there resigning right now. You're next. You're going down. And yes, I am going after the bar, bro. Make no mistake. The gig is up. You're a bunch of human traffickers, scam artists, confidence man, confidence game, confidence trickery. You're nothing but a bunch of scam artists actively engaged in human trafficking. Part B. You know, them bonds you guys write on the backside of cases? Yeah, the bid bond, the performance bond, the payment bond, off the Sestake Vi Trust. That's why you need our social security number, birth certificates. Kick rocks, dude. I could cite whatever I want to cite. Your de facto kangaroo courts are garbage and they're going down. So you've been a prosecuting attorney for 40 years? Great. But make no mistake, folks. We're getting our republic back. It's coming. It's going to take a little bit of time, but it's coming. And don't believe the schmoo out there right now. It's all a facade, propaganda. Really intended to wake people up to, just how much are you going to take? Or actually, I should say, how much does it take to wake people up? And I know that people have been brainwashed. I know some by far more than others, and it's going to take a whole heck of a lot to wake them up. But it'll happen. It's coming. So, oh, by the way, I got the robe today, which I left it at the office. But I did. I got your robe today. Thank you. Even has my name on it. Yep, Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. That's the bar for you. Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. Law offices of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. Bunch of human traffickers. Under them bills of attainder and bills of pains and penalties. It's also prohibited in our form of government. Article 1, Section 9 and Article 1, Section 10, both federal and state. Prohibited. That's legislation that prescribes punishment. Uh-oh. Anywho's. Much love, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful night, wonderful weekend. And we'll see you back here for Monday Night Law, right? You'll be back. All right. Much love, everybody. Have a good night.